After this, there is no turning back. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Do you know what I'm talking about?
This is that YouthSpin show. This is that YouthSpin show. This is that YouthSpin show.
YouthSpin is sponsored by the Department of Youth and Culture, and this special 2.5-hour segment entitled The Manifesto Special is brought to you in collaboration with the National Youth Ambassador Corps. I am Ambassador Andre Samuel, and I am joined by my esteemed ambassador on this end, Marisa. Marisa, say good evening.
Good evening, Andre. Good evening.
And welcome to our next candidate, Mr. Statchel Warner, independent candidate, the SOC.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Warner. Thank you for joining us. I'll get right into it, shall I? There is a perception that in the absence of a published manifesto, that you do not have a serious vision or plan for Anguilla, and serve more as a political critic or observer. What are your thoughts on this sentiment?
Well, I have read at least one of the manifestos and briefly browsed through the second one, and I'm not sure that is a fair statement because I think I found both of them to be very empty. There are major gaps and they seem to have just platitudes rather than a call to action. Unless we have something that is going to be looking at Anguilla in the next 20 to 50 years, what they're talking about don't make much sense to me. So everybody in that case might as well have been like me and not publish a manifesto. But not publishing a manifesto, I published my ideas. And I'm not seeing any ideas coming out of the manifesto. So, you know, for me, it's just an empty shell.
Well, I've been listening and looking at it. I've been listening and reading, looking at some of the videotapes you've left on Facebook in terms of your ideas and so forth. And I know you're a strong proponent for the population size that you feel in terms of economies of scale. So what do you consider, why do you consider the population size maybe not sustainable or not large enough?
You know, with modern technology, a lot is changing. 20 years ago, it was felt by the United Nations that a sustainable population is about 25,000 people. With technology, we might not necessarily have to reach that figure because it's not a magic number. But the problem that we are having is that in the provision of certain services on Anguilla, population do have a major impact. You know, you can go to the best school of medicine now and bring a brain surgeon here, but because of our population, who is he going to operate on? And unlike a lawyer that will open an office, a doctor opens a practice, and if a doctor is not practicing, they are losing their skill. You know, so I just use that as an example for the need to have an economy of scale. We also have, if we bring it closer home, look at retail. Conventional wisdom in any major society will tell you that it takes about 700 households to support the average modern supermarket. Okay, and in Anguilla we have between 4,000 to 5,000 households, but we have now about 20 places selling food. And when you look at that, you know a number of things are going to happen. Either a number of those places will have to close to bring it back down to the magical number, or we have to grow the size of the population in order to support what we already have.
And as a follow-on from that question, how do you plan to grow, to increase the size of the population?
I think that I have heard a number of ideas coming out on how you can increase the size of the population. One of the things that we can do is we can increase the number of students, and that is rather a safe way to do it, because they'll be just here as consumers and not competing with Anguillians on the job market. They will be renting houses, they'll be renting cars, buying cars, that kind of stuff. It will just create that much more demand in the society. I have heard one of the political parties being very strong in suggesting that we can also do it by increasing the amount of retirees on the island. That is also a reasonable way to do it. Even though one of the problems you'll have with that is that older people require better health care. And we all know that our healthcare system right now have major problems and issues.
All right. Well, next question. In several interviews and on your social media platforms, you stated that you consider the state of healthcare in East Wellington to be one of the core issues in Anguilla. What steps would you take in rectifying this issue if elected?
One of the problems that I have found in healthcare have to do with the attitude of some of the healthcare workers. I think we have a fairly reasonable skill base, but we don't have the right attitude. Secondly, I don't think it's properly funded, properly organized. And then thirdly, it suffers from the economy of scale, as mentioned earlier. So any action taken to rectify healthcare have to take all of these things into consideration. When we are going out shopping for healthcare workers, we have to make sure that we are going out there and finding the best that are available and bringing them here to treat people that we really love and care for. So we have to have highly skilled and highly qualified. We also have to ensure that we are doing everything we can to encourage Anguillians to work in the healthcare industry. We can do that, by having a proper school system. So there is no magic about it, but whatever we do, we have to realize that it is linked. And I think part of our problem is we try to fix one problem at a time without realizing that everything we do is linked. We can't fix healthcare unless we were to look at preventative care, the foods that people are eating, the dietary habits. What are we teaching the kids in school about, proper dieting? We have to link it all, and it's only when we do that we will have a better healthcare system. Because when you reach to the hospital, you're already sick. It's how we can stop you from getting there.
Any thoughts on the buzzword in terms of health tourism or medical tourism? You see that into the mix or no?
Yes, but again, we are having a chicken and egg situation. We can promote medical tourism, but how will we do it? Will we just say that we are having it, or do we have to have a properly functioning health system in Anguilla before, and that will make people want to come here, not just to have a vacation, but also to get proper health care. We keep going around the chicken and egg, and we are not finding solutions to it.
I think when it comes to that, there's medical tourism, at least. There's no real chicken or egg issue. I think that's a long-term plan. I don't think that's in the medium term, because I think that requires significant investment in our healthcare plans. And I don't think that Anguilla is at the stage where we could potentially venture into such.
But, the longest of journey begins with the first steps. Okay, so if medical tourism is our long-term plan, what are the steps that we are taking now that when we get to that long-term plan that we'll be ready for it?
Correct.
So that is where I say chicken and egg, because which comes first? You know, yes, our long-term goal might be medical tourism, but are we really doing the things necessary to get there? And the other thing that we have to realize when we are talking about promoting medical tourism is that, are we saying to Anguillians is we are really trying to develop this superb healthcare system so that we can take care of foreigners while you die here in the process? You know,
So your first step would be to increase the skill of personnel employed within the sector.
Say that again.
Your first plan for reforming healthcare in Anguilla would be to increase the skill of personnel in the sector. Is that what you were saying?
No, I would like to see us sit and have a conversation about attitudes within the healthcare system. I think we can do a lot better than we are doing right now if people were to have the right attitudes. You listen to a lot of the healthcare workers in Anguilla seem to be under significant stress. It could be social stress, where it's not difficult being a foreigner. It's not easy being a foreigner living in Anguilla. Okay, and we tend to have the tendency to make it very tough for foreigners. But when we are sick, we also expect them to have the best attitude to take care of us. That might not necessarily be the best. You are also hearing of, you know, things that going on in the service with promotions and everything like that, and you wondering, you know, what is going through the people's mind? What are the stresses that they have that is preventing them from doing the job, even with the resources that they have now? So my first thing would be, you know, we have to sit and look at what we have and see how effective we are using that.
You mentioned healthcare, but you also mentioned linkages, and a lot of what you were speaking to with healthcare, in that you mentioned education. Just tell us a bit about how you feel now tying in the population increase, growing the population. How do you fit that in with education and healthcare? Oh, more education. Let me stick with education because you spoke a bit about.
Let's look at education. After all, this is a youth forum, okay? And you all guys are the youth ambassadors, and it's fair for me to look around the room, look at all you guys, and you guys don't represent the average youth in Anguilla. You are guys who have made it through the system, irrespective of the challenges. Okay. That's a fair statement, yeah. We have a situation in Anguilla where every year we graduate between 250 to 300 students, and in our best years we were sending away 50. Okay, now we are sending away 2 or 3, and we are also paying sizable amounts. We spend like about $500,000 to educate the island scholar, usually in a field that they choose that don't even allow them to come back to Anguilla because we don't have the economy of scale that needs their skills. But we spend a lot of money doing it, okay? But while we are spending $500,000 on the island scholar and sometimes manipulating the system politically and otherwise to make sure that who we want gets it to get it, we have 250 students who's walking around the street with no skills and a marginal education. Are we really working on behalf of the youth, or are we just paying the youth lip service?
That's an interesting point, Mr. Warner.
I hope none of you was the island scholar.
I was an island scholar, which makes me pause for a moment. I will note, however, that I did my degrees in economics, so perhaps you might find that useful to the people of Anguilla.
Oh, you know, when someone do it in economics, I'm always like, yeah, with the state of our economy, we can use them. You know, we have to beg them to come home. If you do it in something in chemical engineering and you're making products that designed for NASA, I'm wondering, okay, is he ever going to come home?
We do have some chemical engineers as well.
But I will touch on that point though, because I went through the system of island scholarship. you don't just get to select the area of the field of study that you want to be in, and then you just send that to public admin and they approve it. It still has to go to executive council, and they have to approve the area. So any area that is chosen by an island scholar has actually been approved.
I understand that, but the problem that I'm having is sometimes I'm wondering if the amount of money that we have been spending, you know, if there are cheaper ways that we can educate Anguillians for the sake and get more bang for the buck. That's all that I wonder.
I was going to ask you about that. If you have, what are your solutions to adding value for money? So, for example, this scenario where you give, you know, there's 500,000 being spent on the Island Scholar. You know, how do you see that being used in a more effective and efficient manner? In terms
for example, I see the British passports going around are very popular. I don't have one, but they are popular, and everyone wants to use them specifically to get around the visa. We might be better off if we are using them to get around education rather than just around the visa. And if education is free or cheaper in England, then sometimes I wonder, why are we spending thousands on education, say, in America? You know, there are just little kinks that we have to work out and find the balances, and I'm not sure that we are doing it. But at the end of the day, I want to know if we are graduating 200 or 300 students, that they have access to some kind of skill, some kind of basic level of education. Because when I come back here and I meet people who have subjects but can't count, it makes me wonder what we are teaching.
I agree. I think developing the education system is crucial and fundamental to the development of any economy. Another one of your issues that you are quite prominent with on your social media platforms is lowering the cost for the provision of utilities, water and electricity, and increasing their accessibilities. How would you address this issue?
I would like to see us tackle the cost of living in general in Anguilla. I don't think we have done a very good job on that over the years. And electricity costs, water costs, and so on are basic cost of living items. I think that if you are spending $700-800 a month in electricity, and you still can't even comfortably enjoy your house, because heaven forbids if you run your air conditioning unit for more than a half hour, whatever what your bill is going to be, that's a problem. Okay, and it's also draining the economy, because the provision of electricity requires a lot of the importation of fuel, and we spend millions every year doing that. So if we can reduce the amount of money that we are spending on that money can stay circulating in the economy, and we can find other and better things to do with it. One of the things that I have been suggesting to reduce the cost of electricity is to go 100% renewable. I don't like hybrids. Okay, I don't like you keep some of the old and you attach on the new. You know, I think if you are going, you go all the way. You might have some problems. You work out the kinks as you go along. And for electricity, I'm really excited about solar thermal. And one of the reasons that I'm excited about solar thermal is that the waste heat is perfect for generating desalination of water. And if Anguillians can get water very cheap, I see that can do wonders in terms of making the desert conditions that we have on the island, making the island boom. You know, we can have gardens for food, and we can even have gardens just for beautification. You know, we can do it. You can be now passing and actually see you know, irrigation systems in operation. So that is my idea, and I don't believe that it is far-fetched. And again, in terms of linkages, if we can reduce the burning of fossil fuels, there are a number of health dividends that we will pay. I mean, you have to wonder right now that Anguilla seem to have a rather high rate of cancer, you know. And what is causing it? Usually cancers and stuff is caused by some environmental factors, and we are burning literally tons and tons of carbon monoxide and you know, you can name the gases that is belched out. And we might look at some of the exhaust systems and see clear smoke going up, but that is just because we have scrubbed the heavy particulate. But the real gases that is causing harm is still going into atmosphere.
So sorry, Andre. So you've mentioned that your focus would be on decreasing the use of fossil fuels and increasing renewable energy in Anguilla.
Exclusively.
Will that be through incentives for homeowners, reductions on customs duties, on the importation of like solar panels for the production of?
Solar thermal don't involve the use of solar panels. While I personally himself own solar panels, I don't think it's the way to go right now in terms of the future in Anguilla. It's great for a hybrid system, but if you're making a full transition, then solar panels, no. What we need in Anguilla is a strong utility, okay? Central. ANLEC can do it. If you want to name it something else, you name it something else. The problem with ANLEC is that, not that ANLEC is a bad company, but ANLEC is selling an expensive product, a product that is expensive to produce, and they have no choice but to sell it expensive. So what we have to find is a cheaper product that they can sell and probably still make a profit, but it just be cheaper. And that will mean that you don't have to think about becoming an independent producer of electricity, because the status of becoming an independent producer will also requires a significant upfront investment. Okay, and I'm saying is it's better for you to have to pay $100 a month electricity than in order for you to pay $100 or $150, you are forced to invest $5,000 or $10,000 upfront and then recover your costs over 20 years.
But so one of I mean, there's very few countries in the world that can boast on 100% renewables. I know there's some in the Asian island off China, I believe, that has 100% renewable, and then there's one in the BVI. But it was a significant investment. So it's a very bold statement to say that Anguilla can go 100%.
Oh yeah, you see.
But just describe a little bit the solar thermal.
Okay,
for the listening public. If
you can remember, as boys, we grew up and we used to take the magnifying glass and focus the light and burn. I'm gonna say burn the leaves, you know, not burn the ants, but yeah, you know, burn stuff up. So solar thermal operates on the same principle. What you have you basically have, let me say, a pipe with a heat retaining fluid on the inside, and you have mirrors, parabolic mirrors, that focuses the sun's light on that pipe and heats it up to 600-700 degrees, and that the heat is used to boil water, and that water spins a turbine. And you generate electricity. The difference between that and say photovoltaic cells is that photovoltaic cells generates electricity in DC. Then you have to buy expensive inverters to transfer it over into AC.
Correct.
Solar thermal, you go straight to AC power, okay, and there's no in between.
Right.
You know, and when you speak of having you know, other nations haven't done it, small is the new big. And Anguilla have to realize that our small size allows us to maneuver much easier than the big countries, you know. And you already have large countries. In the Mojave Desert in California, there's a 500 megawatt solar thermal plant. In Spain, you have 300-400 megawatt solar thermal plant. Anguilla right now uses 25 megawatts. Okay, so. It's not hard, you know. And I'm not one of those those activists, I don't like to call myself a politician because some awful and unsavory characters call themselves so also. But I am not seeking to control a constituency or a village. I'm an Anguillian. I'm seeking to build a nation.
Okay. Mr. Warner, I know a lot of the candidates for the upcoming elections on the podiums are speaking about the tax system and how it's onerous and there's a need for reform. I also know a hot topic right now is the interim stabilization levies. What are your thoughts specifically on that tax and any potential reforms you propose?
I have never been in support of the interim stabilization levy. I thought that it would have been better if the government had just gone straight and call it what they wanted it to be, income tax, and tax the income of Anguillians. But they thought that that would have been not popular, so they didn't go that road. They call it something else, and they ended up taxing Anguillians and taxing businesses at the same time by modeling it as if it's another social security scheme, and it has created a lot of havoc on the economy because many borderline businesses just couldn't afford that extra 5%, and it has also pulled money out of circulation into government coffers. But as you know, as an economist, you know of the multiplier effect. Okay, so when you take out X millions of dollars, by the time that's finished spinning around, that could have been $200-300 million that you have effectively taken out of the society. So I think the stabilization levy was a bad idea, but like in a bad idea, government is now addicted to it, and they don't want to change it, and I don't trust anyone who says they are changing it right now.
It's the ISL is actually one of the top revenue earners for the government. The only things that exceeded are accommodation tax, customs duties. What would you repeal it if you were elected, and how would you make up the downfall in revenue?
You know, my feeling is that Anguilla will be better off with a sales tax where you can tax products and services and reduce customs duties, because I think that with St. Martin being next door as a duty-free area and Anguilla a few miles over as a highly taxed dutiable economy, that we will continue to have that hemorrhage to St. Martin. So, you know, since when you can't beat them, you have to join them. I think Anguilla needs to significantly start reducing the taxes. And when you have a situation in Anguilla where, for example, water has moved from 0% to 26% duties, you know, in an economy where society where there's no rivers and significant water shortages, where the government has been unable to provide you with a potable water supply over the years, and when they do provide it, you can't afford it, you know. And for us to be taxing even water because we need to raise the revenue, you know, it's kind of crazy. So yes, stabilization level needs to be repealed, and I believe that if we rebalance the taxing system, we can probably make more money in the economy. But that is not saying that waste in the government system don't have to be addressed. Okay, I'm not saying that you need to necessarily cut anybody's salaries. The salaries right now takes up a significant portion of the annual budget. Okay, but you can look at it as a percentage. If the percentage right now is too high, you got two choices. You either have to cut the salaries to bring them to a percentage that you like, or you grow the economy to make that percentage be what you want.
Which is easier? Which is easier?
Oh, cutting might be easier, but cutting will create a lot more problems than it will solve. Okay, so our focus should be on how we can grow the economy. And as an economist, I think that you will have more ideas on that than me.
So Warner, your position on is very pro small business and local business development. And my economist colleague on this and will correct me when I say this statement if I'm wrong, but usually a good model in a recession is to really grow the small and medium-term enterprises from a microeconomic standpoint. What sort of solutions do you have to grow or incentivize the small business owner or the small business developer? Am I right? I stand to be corrected. Is he?
I'll agree with you.
She'll agree.
I'll agree with you.
I'm not right, but she'll agree.
But you see, in order to answer your question, yes, I promote small businesses. I would like to see more businesses develop, but you also have to have demand within the economy for whatever service they are going to provide. And right now, with the size of our economy, the size of our population, we maybe already have too many businesses than we can support. So we have to now go back again, and I keep using the word linkages, but everything we do have to be comprehensive. So if there are more people coming in, then you will find if we build 500 more homes, then maybe we're going to need another 100 or two household people to clean the houses or whatever, and maybe you can set up the business where you coordinate the cleaners. You know, there are services that you will need, but you have to create the demand within the economy first.
A colleague of mine that's behind you, she would call those clusters from a macroeconomic standpoint.
You see, I just look at it from the practical. I don't have the.
I'm the interpreter. I'll just.
Oh, so I'm actually between two economies. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mr. Warner, maybe we should ask you to share your vision for Anguilla and make any closing remarks here.
My vision for Anguilla is that we are the right size to become a model nation. But we have to pay special interest to our young people. We have to start right now educating them not to walk in Anguilla, but to be competitive anywhere in the world that they go, because walking in Anguilla is limiting them to a very small box, and we are now in a global economy. So Anguillians have to be able and prepared to walk everywhere. We also have to focus on our women within the society. We keep giving youth and women lip service, and we think that that passing laws that may be mandated by different organizations is doing enough. We have problems in the schools, but we also have to look at how are those problems associated with the growing number of single-parent families. How is the responsibility of men in the society? Would paying child support or forcing some men to pay child support, would that help? These are the challenges that Anguilla is going to face in years to come. But we also have to have the plans and policies in place now. We have to re-engineer Anguilla socially, and social policy is more than building a school or giving funding. If we are developing a youth center, then we have to make sure that that money is actually going to the young people that's needed. I'm seeing situations around the island now where government is giving significant amount of money to various youth organizations, but most of it seems to be eaten up in administrative fees, and the young people are not benefiting. Those are the little things that we have to do, and those are issues that I will remain focused on, irrespective of the outcome of the April 22nd election, because I have young kids, and the future of Anguilla don't belong to me, but it belongs to all of our children.
That's good to hear, Mr. Warner, and I thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. And I know this is a busy season for you, and you probably have some last-minute house calls you plan to make.
Yeah, but I can never say no to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warner.
Thank you.